We are back on MorningLine. Our guest this morning, Chris Johnson. He's with Takis and McGinnis. When's it going to be Takis, McGinnis, and Johnson?
We'll see. We'll see. Sometime here in the future.
No, it's going to happen soon enough. But elder care law experts talking about a wide range of subjects you may have. We were just talking about, nursing home and Medicaid and Medicare and all of that. We may talk about reverse mortgages and some other things that you can tell me you've been hearing about and questions you've had from some of your clients. But we have a couple calls let's take that waited through the break for Chris. So let's go to Evan first. Evan, good morning. Hi, Evan.
Yes, I have friends who live in assisted living because we're mentally disabled and can't live independently. I live independently, and what they tell me is that every morning they come into your bedroom and say, get out of bed or go to the hospital. They take all your Social Security, they take all your food stamps, they cook for you, but they choose what you eat, not yourself. And since there's a staff to watch them during the day, they get on 10-care vans and go to outpatient programs, Central Stone, Park Central, maybe the mental health co-op. Is that true, or do they have the option to stay in, watch TV, read a book, or walk around the neighborhood because it's not a homeless shelter? They're paying residents, and if they need to sleep because of medication, they should have that privilege.
Okay. You go ahead and answer, and then I'll share my experience with my folks with what he just described.
Absolutely. So, Evan, that's a great question. It'll always depend on the level of care for the assisted living facility that your friends are in and what their payment methods are and what have you. So, for some people, if all they have is their Social Security, they're probably paying the majority of that to the facility because you need to make sure the facility gets paid. In a skilled nursing facility, if you're on TennCare, if you're on Medicaid, there's the patient liability amount, the PLA, and that will be the vast majority of your income. So that's not unusual. Typically, in some assisted living facilities, almost all of them have a meal plan, and so you'll go there, and there's obviously the menu, but many of them have kitchenettes where they can prepare their own meals, and they can choose to go to a meal or not go to a meal, and there's all sorts of activities. I know lots of people at assisted living facilities, they still have their car there, and they're able to go out and travel. I know that the higher your need level, and if someone is disabled and especially perhaps has some mental health challenges, and they probably have some limitations for their own safety, and they may have a bit more of a structured environment, if you will. But that's always something that's generally negotiated with the staff, and it depends on the individual needs. Having people go in rooms and wake people up and kind of get them going in the morning, that's not something that's unusual. But again, it all comes down to the individual care needs and how that facility is structuring and tailoring the care they're providing for each and every person. So I'm not hearing anything in there that's overly troubling. It sounds like they're paying for their care. It sounds like they're on a meal plan. It sounds like they're in a little more of a structured environment maybe than some, but it also, I hear some things that say maybe they need that higher level of structure.
You hit it on the head. It's the level of care that you need, and that's exactly what my folks are in, Evan. A situation like that where there's a dining hall, they have their little apartment unit that they have in the building itself. It's not separate, and they can walk down. They have 3 meals a day, and there is a menu where you maybe have items that you can choose a couple. There's one main course and another one you can choose. The food's fine, okay? It's kind of cafeteria food. It's not great, but it's fine. It's good. My dad loves it. My mom sometimes complains that, you know what, we feel like we're in a prison here. It's like there's limits on where you can go, especially during COVID and things like this, but that's just, she doesn't see things the way, she really needs that structure. But beyond that, yeah, they're free to go and come. They can go for walks in the neighborhood. They can sign up if they choose to go and sing or go to church on the weekends. They'll have a shuttle bus take them there or take them shopping. And you're right, they have a little kitchenette in there. My mom's not always a fan of what's in the cafeteria, so she'll fix a peanut butter sandwich in her room. But there are limits. They can't have booze in their rooms. They can't have medicine in their rooms. The medicine is kept by the nurse at the facility there. That's taking away some of their independence, but you can't have booze because, gosh, if you have a glass of wine, you give it to a neighbor who's on a medicine that would interact and kill them. You can't, there's reasons. So there are limits there, but it's exactly what you said. It's what they need. And there are some people there in memory care, literally locked in a room, but they don't know where they are. My folks are in an apartment. They have free reign. My mom plays the piano twice a week in the lounge, and everyone gathers around. She's a very good piano player. She teaches an art class there. My dad goes to a lot of lectures that they bring in speakers and stuff. And They're in a wonderful place, in my opinion. It's not perfect by any means, but it's kind of what Evan described.
Yep.
But you shop around. Have you seen a range? I mean, we went to some different places, and some were better than others.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one thing people don't realize. You don't have to go with the first facility you visit. Go visit them. We always encourage our clients, go visit them at lunch. Go have lunch, because there's two things that are going to happen. One, you're going to know how good the food is, and those places run often on the food. The satisfaction of the residents, a great deal of it is derived from how good the food is. If your meal is good every single day, that's a great Benny. The second thing is, most people are there at the meal. Maybe they're going to run into some old friends or some old neighbors, and like, hey, we've got some friends here already. And so going there during a lunch hour to visit, and not, again, we were talking about this earlier before the show, not waiting till it's a crisis. Go visit them and have an idea which ones call to you, because some are better than others, and obviously you want to get mom and dad in the best facility possible.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too? I know people that still are widowed, living by themselves. They have the means to go to one of these assisted living facilities if they wanted to, but as many seniors are, I just want to stay in my home, stay in my home. And this one woman I know, a family member of ours, just insists. She's out in the country, she's by herself now, and each day, and she physically can't get around a lot, but she's real sharp, and she's the most social person I know. But each day, she just gets up, does her thing, watches TV, maybe putters around the house. If you get her on the phone, you're never going to get off, because she wants to talk to you forever. She'd be perfect at one of these facilities, but refuses to consider it because it's probably scary, moving what she knows to an unfamiliar place. If she somehow, and I know it's hard when you're older, took that leap, Chris, and got there within a month, she would say, oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm here. She would have friends, activities, and I say this as if she was a hermit and just liked to be by herself all the time, I'd say, oh, stay where you are. But man, she's social.
Right.
And she's withering on the vine where she is, but she's afraid to go anywhere else, so she's going to stay with what she knows, and ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Because she would love it.
One of the best results that you'll see when a family member moves into a facility is they gain weight. And I know that sounds absurd, because we spend our whole lives trying to keep that weight off. But as our parents get older, a lot of times they don't cook. The nutrition in their meals goes down because they get simpler and simpler, and they're not cooking, and they're not really getting that balanced diet. They're not going out to the grocery store and getting healthy things. They move into a facility where they have a cook, they have a nutritionist, and they have these balanced meals provided for them 3 times a day. They gain weight, they get healthier. Why? Because we are what we put in our bodies. And so that's one of those first positive aspects is, listen, you're well fed, you're well nourished, you just feel better. And again, if you feel better, you're going to be healthier. And again, it is all driven by, are they safe and happy in their environment?
It's amazing how much they change. One of the problems is my mom suffered from bipolar, had depression issues, and near the end there, she was in charge of her own meds. She kept screwing it up. Yeah, she missed it, whatever. And I mean, she was getting bad. She'd have really, you know how bipolar is. You can be high, and then you can be near suicidal. And they weren't, the dietary thing, their oven was broken, they weren't fixing it, all these things. They are now in a setting now where they get the regular meals, and the meds are controlled by the nursing staff. Every morning, she gets her pill. Every night, she gets her pill. And all of a sudden, this just poof, flattened out.
Balances right out.
She's not being drugged. She's being normal now.
Right.
Because she's taking the medicines that she needs. And it's night and day. She's older, and yet she's better off than she was 5 years ago. Anyway, it's just something to take into account when you look at some of these seniors. Now, some seniors do want to stay where they are, and that brings up the question, so many, and I've had some calls asking when you guys are going to come back on again, or emails to me saying, ask them. I see Tom Selleck talking about reverse mortgages on these commercials, okay? You get celebrities sometimes to talk about it, and he does a good job. He seems credible. I don't know. Tom Selleck's probably never going to need a reverse mortgage. He's a bazillionaire.
No, I don't think so.
But he talks about it, and they see this. When is a reverse mortgage right? And maybe first explain to someone what that is.
So a reverse mortgage is really taking your home, allowing you to still live in it, and creating a stream of revenue. And so you are selling the home back to whatever entity is providing you the reverse mortgage, and you're going to get payments. You're getting payments for your home. But you are still living there. Typically, when you buy a house, we get a mortgage, we move in and make payments on the home. Right now, they're buying the house from you, but allowing you to stay there. And then when you pass away, then there's the remainder of the mortgage. Now, the family can try and pay it back, whatever was paid out in payments, and try and preserve the home, but typically that's not done. What happens is now the home is, they've bought the home. They'll make whatever remaining payments need to be made and clear it out. generally speaking, they are not well tailored for the resident, the elder person. I hate to say they take advantage of people.
They're getting the home for a good price.
Yeah,
Is that it?
I think a really good price.
Right.
And is there someone who it's the right plan for? Yes. Is that a very small subset? Yes. I always say none of these things, the planning tools that we have, that's exactly what they are. They're tools. And what you want to do is you want to bring the right tool to the right job. For anyone that's handy out there, you know, if you don't have the right tool, you're wrapping your knuckles and your life's miserable. Trying to do an easy job with the wrong tools is very difficult. And so there are rare circumstances where you say, yeah, reverse mortgage probably fits right there. Really, it's that elderly, healthy person who has just Social Security and has no safety net, no family network. You know, they're an unsupported elder, and that population is growing. They want to stay in their home very badly. Health-wise, they don't really have access to TIN care because they're too healthy. It's amazing to say that, but that does happen sometimes. And you want to meet their needs. And if they can stay safe in their environment and getting that extra stream of revenue, and they don't have a family member that it's important that the house go to or something like that, that would be a fitting solution.
That's maybe the narrow
right there.
example.
A narrow example.
Would someone like that, if they said, look, the very scenario you just described, say, can you help me with this, Chris? And I don't want to do a reverse mortgage. What other option would they have? If someone in that, what would you maybe able to try to suggest to them? Is there one to take out a second mortgage on the house?
Then it would be tough. They could just try and take out a second mortgage. You're effectively doing the same thing, though. I mean, because it's not going to get paid off. You need to sit down and say realistic. I mean, we just don't all have the options. You know, I don't have the option to live in Beverly Hills. I don't have that kind of money, and you have to kind of have that reality check. And I always tell people, just like I'm not going to be the quarterback for the Detroit Lions as badly as I might want to be. That's not
in my
right. They could. I might have a shot right now. But you just have to have realistic expectations, and so you need to set those. And I would say, well, you could sell your home, and then you could rent a place. Maybe you could move into assisted living or an independent living facility where you felt good about it, because that would give you an instant chunk of change. But if they really wanted to stay in their home, in that case, that's really kind of the good option.
Okay, I'm glad you gave the one example. Really, that's exactly what Tim more or less had told me. It's been quite some time since we've talked about it. It's not for everyone, and be careful. I guess the be wary thing is a lot of people hear that and think it sounds great or whatever, but keep in mind, you're saying it's not necessarily good except for that rare instance, because quite often it's set up in such a way that, you know, the reason these companies are seeking this out is that they think they can probably get a home and a property, depending on where it's located, for a pretty darn good price. And you know how home values are. Now, if they want to come to you and say, let's do the reverse, do you agree up front, once you decide to sign on this, how much ultimately the house is going to be sold for?
Yeah, and they're going to structure all that. I mean, all that's negotiated.
I mean, if you can negotiate, I suppose if you could negotiate a very, very high price, but you're not going to get that.
You're not going to get that, though, because that wouldn't be a good business model for them.
So keep in mind, the reason they're coming to do this is not because, oh, we want to help this nice gentleman stay in his home. You know, they're doing this because they want to make money on your house. And that's ultimately what they're after. So wary of reverse mortgages, not that there's anything crooked about them or anything like that. They're fine, but as you've made clear, only in rare instances. Otherwise, there's probably other options you should consider.
Yes.
Good. Listen, let's take a break. When we come back, John and Tim will get to your phone calls right after this commercial.